So could I welcome everyone to the open session of the Social Development Committee this morning, and welcome everybody to the committee. Just the usual, remind people of the protocols around the use of the electronic devices or the tablets rather, and I could ask members and anyone else in the room for that matter to switch off all the electronic devices so that they don't interfere with the sound system here, recording system. I'm going to ask any member to declare any interest relevant to the committee today, or none to be declared, so we move on. Apologies from Michael Copeland. Any other apologies to record? No other apologies to record. We move on. The draft minutes for the meeting on the 22nd of January, it's page 5 of your pack. Members content with the minutes from 22nd of January as drafted for accuracy? I think I've agreed. Thank you very much for that. There's nothing to raise specifically on the chairperson's business matters arising. Just note that following today's regular committee business, the committee will move into closed session to take a legal briefing in relation to the committee's inquiry, and then this obviously will be followed by a review of evidence for phase 3 of the inquiry. The Speaker has confirmed in a letter at page 3 of the members' tabled items that a Section 44 notice has been issued requiring DSE to release a fact-finding report into the Special Advisor. So you have the letter in regard to that in your pack. The committee agreed that it would return to the issue of Rinmores as a substantive item once the department had responded. Advised that we had a response at 9 something this morning. 9:30 this morning. So we'll have it here in table down here. Let me just get this now. Kevin, you've just had a very brief opportunity to look at that. Could you just remind members what, as I said, the committee had agreed we would look at the Rinmore issue to determine whether or not it is a issue relevant to this particular inquiry, and we just received a letter back this morning. So, Cam, could you just maybe provide members the essence of the letter?
Yeah, Chair. The letter essentially just refers to the Rinmore issue as a stock transfer matter. It goes into some detail in paragraphs 2 and 3 about how that was carried out. The transfer of 55 homes at Rinmore, Craig and Londonderry from the Housing Executive to Apex Association. So it became a pilot exercise to test whether or not actually stock transfer from the Housing Executive to the Housing Association undertaking improvements could be, well, no cost to build, could be a way forward in that. So clearly set out that's what happened. Then the NIAO produced a report on that, and this is probably the more relevant aspect of this, and that is produced a report on stock transfer in 2014, and that referenced Rinmore in it. Chair, we don't have the NIAO report, but it made recommendations with regard to best practice, etc. So it's about stock transfer. There's no aspect of this refers to maintenance contracts, which is what third phase, the phase 3 of the inquiry is looking at. This Rinmore issue has been referred to in the Spotlight programme. Refer members to the final paragraph of the letter, and it refers to the Housing Executive internal auditor examining the handling of information. And Chair, again, the committee has no information on that, but it certainly says that the Spotlight programme referenced that, and because of that, well, and in that context, that is the handling of information. The Permanent Secretary, the Permanent Secretary, in light of the internal audit findings, he referred it to the NIO to consider. So whether there's any implications. So again, there's no indication of allegations made in respect to Mr. Rounty, rather they consider them.
But from the last paragraph, a couple of questions I would like some information on. Can we get a timeline of when the internal audit report was? And what about its content? Is that to be shared with us? I note that it wasn't about the substance of the transfer, the audit report. It was about the handling of information concerning the transfer. So, I suppose the relevance to the BBC report, there was a sort of an undertone in what was said in the programme that the timing of reporting Mr. Rowntree to the NIO was significant. So I think that's why we need to know when actually the audit report came to hand. I think I'd probably like to know what it actually said.
I mean, I certainly have no difficulty in any of that. It still doesn't bring any relevance. For me, there's nothing in this which gives us any relevance to the inquiry whatsoever that I can see, but I mean, I have no difficulty pursuing it. Gregory, you looking in?
Yeah, I think the last paragraph, it's illuminating in part, but it does, as Jim alluded to, in a slightly different context as well, it does open up another avenue. And given Mr. Rowntree's comments, you know, his political comment that he made, that it was about politics, I think that was his quote. I think we should write to Mr. Rowntree to see if he, not going back down the route of recalling him as a witness or other witnesses, but I think it may be possible to get some information from Mr. Rowntree in written format about what he meant by that. And maybe just if we make a reference to that paragraph in the letter. The other thing is in the third paragraph on the front of the letter. There's a reference to one of the previous ministers, Mr. Ritchie, gave a commitment to officials to work with the community and housing executive, see if the wishes of the community representatives and tenants could be realised with the improvement works being carried out by the local North and West Housing Association, and then it goes on to what I presume is the stock transfer. So there is a reference there to improvement works, although it doesn't expand on that. But I think the most important thing is to try and get something from Mr. Rowntree to see if he is prepared to elaborate on what he meant by the politics.
I think it would also be useful to ask Will Hur what did he actually mean to ask somebody to consider, because there's an inference in that there was wrongdoing. So the person who's making the allegation, or certainly the inference, if I read it, as I have done from day one, I would suggest someone's actually practically inferring something but not saying it. So we're left with we're trying to speculate,
I think that's what crucial
which is ridiculous, as far as I'm concerned. But again, coming back to, so I have no difficulty seeking clarification of all that, and made it very clear this committee would want to, I presume, quite robustly investigate any problems around Rinmore if somebody identifies what they might actually be, instead of inferring all sorts of stuff.
Well, this helps a bit, Chairman.
It may well do, but the point we're going to, and so I have no problem. I don't think anybody around this table would have any problem. That'd be part of our job to hold the accountant and all that stuff. And that's very appropriate as it would be. The same token, nobody still give me any indication at all that it's in any way relevant to phase 3 of our inquiry. So we'll write and seek clarification from those individuals, and then we'll move on to fair enough from there.
And are we going to seek a copy of the audit report?
No harm, yeah. With that. We're now at the pensions bill review of the evidence, and again could I formally welcome Jerry McCann, Seamus, Kathleen Doherty, Roy to the table. And obviously what we had, as you know, we've taken sought an extension to the time that we'll have available to us, but hopefully we can still do this well within a reasonable short period of time. But again, that'll be totally dependent on the evidence we've heard with the members. Just to reflect, we've had a number of submissions, some oral, some written, and very helpfully we've had the officials here to respond at the same time as we were hearing the evidence to try and help our clarity of thought on this matter. So we have a paper on page 5 of your tabled items. That outlines issues raised in relation to the pensions bill and the Department's response. So hopefully members would have had a chance to review that themselves. So, on that basis, I mean, obviously, again, as I said, the officials had committed to coming back and giving us maybe some clarity in some matters. So, are you happy enough that you could maybe take us through any of that? Do you think there's anything that wasn't covered?
I think that we have actually covered most of the things, over the course of our various meetings. So last week there was one issue, if I could just clarify for the benefit of the committee, maybe that's before we start. I think that you raised with me, Chair, the situation where a man and woman had been married. They then had actually split, and they actually both had got a further partner, and that's when they could actually get benefit under the existing system. So I think I should make clear, if the spouse, if they are now actually living with someone else as husband and wife, they aren't entitled to any benefit under the existing system. Now, okay, so just to clarify that point for you.
Okay, thank you, Jerry, for that.
That's different from what we were told last week.
No, sorry, it's just that I actually haven't seen the Hansard, so I'm not exactly sure, but it's just when I was thinking over what had been discussed, I thought that I should clarify the point for the committee. And because we got slightly off the main topic and we're talking about various scenarios, so I was just wanted to make clear for the benefit of the, for the committee's benefit, so that we fully understood each
So
other.
that's if the surviving spouse
Yes.
is living with someone
Else as
They're not a
husband and
beneficiary.
wife. And for example, then they actually aren't able to get the benefit.
But if the deceased spouse had been living with somebody,
Well,
it's
like
the
that doesn't really
surviving,
enter into it,
it's the
no.
surviving
Yeah,
spouse,
yeah.
you get.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for that. Well, as you know, most of the stakeholders didn't actually comment on specific clauses, and where they have commented on specific clauses or where members have raised issues relating to particular clauses, these are highlighted in your paper. Otherwise, some of the key issues raised have been highlighted under each part of the bill, which we go through in a few minutes. Mickey Brady, you're looking in there?
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't here last week. It was just, you see the bereavement support payment, which you can't get when your pension age.
Yes.
Because previously, if it goes to the fact that a person can only claim their own contributions, so previously, if husband or wife became pensionable age, or she had no stamps to claim her husband's stamps. What happens in a case where you reach pension age, there's bereavement, that gets paid for a year, but you'll not benefit then from your, under the new rules, presumably you'll not benefit from your spouse's stamps, your late spouse's stamps at that stage. You would have to have stamps then to get pension on your own right.
Yes. I think you're speaking about the old Category B system
yeah.
of pensions. Under the new system, the Category Bs won't actually
No, that's gone.
exist.
Yeah.
We would have a special category, though, which we will carry on, which is if the spouse actually dies, it's before the actual new system comes in, but the surviving spouse hits pension age after that date, they still shall be able to get paid at a rate equal to the old rate for Category BL.
That's okay, because it's likely that more people will lose their spouse
Yeah.
a pension based than before.
Though, as was spoken about before, because of the way that over the years people are now entitled to more Category A pension, as it
Yeah.
were, under the existing
But that
system,
don't- that's only
as
if
the
you've been
numbers
working.
are actually falling. So it would be, as such, more of that older age cohort who might be affected by this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they will be protected, presumably, from.
Well, I say for the scenario where actually death,
Yeah.
where the person, it's the spouse who died, had hit pensionable age before 6/4/16, and the person hits pension age after that, but
They would
yes,
be
they can
protected, yeah.
be paid a rate which is equal to the old Category B.
Thank you, thanks.
Okay, well, look, as I said, from page 5 of your table layout pack, you have a breakdown of all the issues part by part of the bill. So, I mean, the purpose of today's discussion is to, and thankfully again, the officials are here to deal with any queries that we might still have. Obviously, officials wouldn't be taking part in the substantive discussion, but they are very helpfully here. Thank them again for that. I mean, our members, you have the paper there in front of you, which the officials have set out, hopefully trying to address the issues that have been raised with us. So we need to satisfy ourselves today. We are satisfied with the response that we have. We don't have any further queries, and on that basis, then we would propose then at next week's meeting to go through clause by clause of the bill. So really what we want to do is use today to clear up any difficulties we might have around, certainly so that we understand the bill. Doesn't matter where we agree with any aspect or not. Today is just to make sure we're clear what the bill represents and what each clause actually stands for. So, and I would expedite this discussion next week, if you know what I mean. Certainly with the officials here today to help us clear up anything we're not sure about. Is there anything in the paper that, in any part of the bill, that any of the 6 parts of the bill, that people want to get any further clarity on or want to raise any particular issue? What's the officials here this morning? I mean, I'm taking it the members are content to do understand the provisions contained within the bill, whatever about whether the you might actually end up just looking at nobody wants to declare their hand on that one, but you know, it may well be you might have a bit more of a discussion if we go through clause by clause then, so but so be it, if that is the case. And it might focus people's minds, but again, look, you know, you do have from page 5 onward a breakdown of the issues as identified. Mickey Brother.
Sorry, just on the prisoners, credits can only be awarded in this quashed by the courts, and that the royal prerogative of mercy is not equivalent to acquittal. It's on to say the payment of arrears of state pension withheld during imprisonment is considered on a case-by-case basis in light of any compensation. But if it's a contributory benefit, it does not means tested. Compensation effect, if they had stamps and the convictions quashed, then presumably they'll be entitled to backdated pension. Why would compensation?
It's what will happen. It will all depend as the nature of the compensation. If the court at the time of making the award of compensation has taken into account that they weren't paid the state pension, and if they have included an amount as part of the compensation for that, then I believe we wouldn't be paying it twice.
So they'll preempt in a sense.
But it could be that would be for the court to decide as to how they calculate as to what the compensation should be.
The reason I'm reading it because the person might feel a bit miffed because they've already paid the contributions, so they get that as a right. Whereas if they weren't in that situation and they qualified for pension and got compensation, for instance, for an accident, that wouldn't affect.
Well, again, for the accident one, for example, you know, but we do take into account the compensation, and we would take the money back.
But it's insurance. If you're in an accident, it's insurance.
But it's just
compensation recovery doesn't apply directly to the person anymore.
No. But it's just that we do get the money back. You know, from the, you know. From
I understand. It's from a different source. It doesn't affect the actual.
But it's just here, as I say, I think what we are aiming to catch is where the court has already actually paid an amount out because of the state pension hadn't been payable, and ensure the person isn't in fact being paid twice by the state.
No, well, I'm thinking in terms of not that aspect of it, that is because they didn't receive their pension during that period, it would be presumably they get compensation also for wrongful imprisonment.
Well, that would be outside of our remit. I mean, it's just in terms of how the compensation is calculated. I think there normally would be such a breakdown as to how they, you know, actually ended up with the total
figure. So if it's directly related to the not being paid state pension, you're compensated for that, I think that's a different thing.
Yes.
Because that would be, you'd be getting it twice in a sense. But if it's for wrongful imprisonment or something, it would be a totally different thing.
Certainly that is our understanding as how this provision is to work. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And just on that, the prisoner who's been wrongly convicted and spends 2-3 years in prison, quite apart from compensation, if they're under pension age, do they then get credits?
I think they do.
Yes,
I think they do, yeah.
Provided the conviction is quashed.
Yeah. So there's 2 issues. There's whether there's an entitlement to credits in foot of the question, and then there's the question of whether they would have been getting, if they'd been a pensioner, they would have been getting a pension.
Yeah.
Just,
I mean, right, it's on the same point, Gregor.
yeah, it was just on that point. Just how long has that been the case? My understanding is that that's been a case for quite a long time.
I think it has been the case for quite a long time. Yeah.
In decades, like it's not.
Yeah. As far as I mean, I would actually have to do some research to answer your question totally. But as far as I know, it's been around for some time.
Okay, Tommy.
Yeah, just on the previous point, the entitlement to the full pension. And we did have some discussion about people who were on 0-hour contracts or people who were in low-paid jobs, maybe 2 or 3 low-paid jobs, where they didn't actually reach the threshold. And the department's response was that, well, some of them may get picked up because they're getting child tax credit, for example. It really was the HMRC issue to see were there other ways of picking them up. Do we have any idea of the number of people? 'Cause that one did strike me as very unfair. That you know, if you did have people who, because they couldn't get a full-time job or in a lot of part-time jobs, weren't reaching the threshold, could actually find themselves disadvantaged. Do we know? Can we quantify that problem?
I think that I have seen a figure, though I can't remember it off the top of my head. I would have to look for one, but I am sure that we can see what the figure is. But I think the point which I was making to you previously, this issue is really about whether or not a person has to pay NICs. You know, it's a national insurance contribution issue, which is outside of our control totally. You know, so we as a department, and indeed here inside the Assembly, but we don't have any such control over this issue. And it really is whether or not the person is at the point for them to pay national insurance contribution. And I would have to say that is the actual something which we can resolve here ourselves. But it's in terms of the kind of numbers involved. I'll certainly see if I can get a figure, and I'll try to get back before Tuesday, or when, you know, it's whenever that we meet again.
And you had said that HMRC and DWP were working on
We have been looking at a longer term solution to this. The issue is at the moment that there will be a fairly large number of these people who aren't caught by the actual system that works at the moment, you know, the real-time system. And the only people who are caught by it are people who are actually on a PAYE. And if your earnings are under £111, but you might be on PAYE, so there is no automatic system there for these people to be caught. So that is part of the issue. I think that the Older Persons Commissioner had asked, could we not use that system to do it? But the answer is no, that it can't be used in that way at this point in time. However, HMRC and DWP have been looking at the issue, though I don't think I could put it any stronger than that.
You're looking back in on that, will you?
Yeah, it was just a follow on Sammy's point, because you could have somebody of 2 or 3 jobs, but all the jobs are paying below the lower earnings limit, so about £102 or something. Okay. So there's no aggregation. So really what you're saying is, because they're not on record, so HMRC is at the end to trace them. But would there not be a fair system where there would be some record from the employer that could maybe give HMRC the opportunity to aggregate the wages?
Well, again, this would be an issue for HMRC, because this is about national insurance contributions. You know, I just made the point that we as a department have very little influence over this issue.
The other thing is,
but Nick, even if they were aggregated, if none of the jobs actually put them up to the level where they're paying national insurance contributions, on which job do you pay the national insurance contributions?
I know I'm not, but if you're aggregated, it presumably if you had 2 jobs and you got £100 each in your 2, you'd be over the lower earnings limit. It just seems that what you have is somebody earning more than the lower earnings limit but not paying any contributions. So there's a reverse of that. The other thing is a 0 hour.
Can I go ahead? You know, it's one of the other problems is it's not so much in terms of the actual person who's in work as to who pays. It would be as which of the various firms are working for would actually fall liable for the national insurance contribution from the employer. And so that's why when I said that I as such can't put it any stronger than this issue has been looked at, because I think there are big issues trying to work out as to how we could actually get this to fly, you know, as such in practice. But again, the other point is that I think we do know, and from some of the stuff I've read, and for people copy this, that you often find that they are actually just getting credits anyway because they will have a child for child benefit purposes, and you also find the child tax credits, etc. So we think there would be a fairly large number of people inside this cohort anyway who actually are probably being caught anyway by the system.
Seeing the 0 hours contract, which unfortunately they're becoming much more prevalent, obviously what you're saying is if a person's in a 0 hour contract and then out of work, they can pay a class 3 contributions.
Yes.
But the likelihood is if you're in a 0 hour contract, you won't be able to afford
Afford it.
class 3
Well,
contributions.
but it could be that your 0 hour contract could mean that you already have actually paid enough for the year anyway. I mean, it could be that you aren't employed for X weeks, but you are employed for X months. And as long as that brings you over the LEL
That
for the
can
year.
bring up over the
Yeah,
lower
you
end.
know, so to factor on a 0 hour contract, you know,
But there's still
actually,
big
that
gaps.
doesn't mean that you won't have a full qualifying year, you know,
Yeah,
because
but
you
there's
could
still
have
big
it.
gaps in your contribution record.
But it's in terms of this, all you need to have is a qualifying year, which is actually 52 times the LEL.
And that'll be,
You know, so therefore that, and say that you work 6 months, for example, well, then you probably will have that, you know, and say anyhow.
presumably then if they're signing on for job seekers or something.
Again, but if
they'll
they
be
have actually
credited
claimed
with-
job seekers, they would be getting
So
a credit.
that would
Yeah.
form part of their contribution
Yeah,
record.
yeah. So that's why we're saying, you know, that, and so for this cohort, but it mightn't be quite the problem which we may think when you look at it cold.
But just on the 0 hour contract, just to finish, obviously if someone can pay class 2 contributions, there would need to be some sort of a campaign where people would be made aware of that because they are becoming more and more prevalent.
For the class 3s? Yeah. Well, certainly, yes, I can see that.
Thanks.
And that might form a recommendation or monitoring or whatever, or guidance or something like that. So we'll come back down in a wee second. I mean, I'm looking around, there's nobody indicating, well, first of all, I just want to, is anybody of a mind that they want to have any particular amendments to any of the clauses? I'm not getting those indications. So I'm still of a view that it's quite possible that when we go through clause by clause, it might just spark a little bit more of a substantive discussion because people see the direct implication. But I'm wondering if we leave that the next, because obviously what we'd wanted to do today was to make sure we're clear on what the bill actually provides for. And obviously we would ideally want the officials to go away from here, or the committee officials to go away here and start drafting a report. Then we would next week go through the clause by clause of the bill formally, and then that would be like the following week. Then the cabinet members would bring back the kind of full report to the committee for signing off on. But I don't know. Do we want to give ourselves a Tuesday morning here? I'm just offering or suggesting. Do we want to go through a Tuesday morning as almost like a dry run on the clause by clause if we think it might spark more focus in our minds? I don't know. I'm not proposing it. I'm just asking if I want to take the opportunity, or we're contented to leave it to Thursday and go through clause by clause on Thursday anyway.
What's the new timeline now?
The next Thursday would be the formal clause by clause. So on the assumption that all the issues are cleared and members are content with the clauses, we'll do that next week. And then the following week would have a draft report on the bill.
Sorry, I didn't make myself clear. But what's our end date? We got a further extension there?
Yeah, it's in March, the 26th of March, I believe. It's in March, so there's plenty of time.
Work with the Thursdays, maybe?
But is there any disadvantage, say we didn't go ahead with the Tuesday and we came to the formal clause by clause on Thursday, and it then became clear that it was more protracted than people might have thought? Is there an issue if that's delayed, to Jim's point? I mean, it's not a big issue, is it?
But
It doesn't seem to me like it is, time-wise.
it may not be unless there's further clarification required from the department. Or if members are wanting certain recommendations, you can make recommendations to clause by clause.
Yeah, because I'll bring in a second, Jerry, because, but I don't think it'll be any immediate, but Jerry might sort of give us a counter review on that. But obviously we want to go through a clause by clause. We also might want to make recommendations as to the department might want to monitor something, or might want to say how something rolls out, or what will happen in guidance, for example. Or you're talking earlier on about if someone's in 2 jobs, 2 low-paid jobs, then one of the companies, one of the employers may well pick up the kind of responsibility. Who determines that? For example, I don't know. Which would be interesting. So, Jerry, you wanted to kind of just remark on the timeline.
It's just on the issue of the bill timing. as it stands now, but if we were to finish next week, as it were, which what we were aiming for, actually the bill probably wouldn't be getting RA until end of May, early June. Our problem then is, and for people inside Northern Ireland, that leaves them actually less than 1 year, before this new system actually kicks in. And something which we had been all very keen was to try to, make sure that out there that, each and everybody knew, this is going to bite. And actually, the longer that we eat into that period, then it means people have less time, as it were, to plan ahead to when these changes are coming. But I'm just pointing out, from the department's point of view, that would be our,
I presume the question Gregory was directly putting there. I mean, if we didn't do clause by clause next week, and we had to do it, say, for example, the following week, would that be a major problem?
It came, but it should just mean that the date gets, a sort of kickback for RA probably further into June, which actually leaves such people out there, with even a shorter window of time to plan for this new change, which is going to affect them.
Okay, well, can we work on the basis that, because I don't want to be manufacturing problems with it either, so I'm wondering, are we content that we come back on Thursday on this to go through clause by clause and just deal with it on Thursday? And obviously that does presuppose that we might have some queries, might need further clarification, but hopefully not. Obviously, Jerry, we appreciate, and your colleagues these are very complex, as you well appreciate, so members are trying to just do the right thing by them. Okay, so members then content then that we will deal with this next week, and on the basis of discussion we've had so far, and the stakeholders and so on, that Kevin and other officials here can go off and start putting the draft report together based on the content that we've heard, all of this up to date, really. Members content with that? Okay, thank you very much. Right then, thank yourself then, Jerry, Seamus Story, for your time here again this morning. Thank you. It's been really helpful. I suppose with members, we just have to apply ourselves then really for next week, and it might be useful if anybody has any queries that you might read tonight or whatever else, or tomorrow, if we could just even put them directly through to Kevin. Okay, members, moving on then to the next item, which is important legislation. That's an SL1 Social Security Miscellaneous Amendments Regulations. You'll have the SL1 on page 13 of your pack. And these obviously relate to a number of amendments relating to income-related benefit and other social security benefits. And I'd need to sort of read out into all of that. If members have had an opportunity to look at that, then Mickey Brady.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. One of the issues that came up when this originally came out was this ambiguity about the woman in terms of maternity allowance, the change, dealing without good cause to observe rules of behaviour such as taking due care of her health, and we couldn't get a definition of that, so that has been removed now, which seems to be a sensible thing to do in this area.
Okay.
That was really one of the main points that came up the last time. What did that actually mean?
Okay. So can I take it the members are content then for the rule to be made? Okay, thank you. That members? Okay, just a couple of items under correspondence. Received some correspondence from the from Anna Trust in relation to the regeneration bill. That's on page 26 of your pack. And the department has also responded in relation to the committee's queries and vesting policy. That's in 28 of your pack. Just again to ask you note that each of these can be considered as part of the committee's consideration of the regeneration bill when we come to that. I remember happy enough for that. Representatives of the Loughney Rescue have written to the committee expressing concern in relation to the Charity Commission's investigation and subsequent report into their activities. And they note that the final report is at odds with the tribunal finding. In the correspondence, Mr. Burke has been in communication with the committee clerk and has noted that the individuals criticising the Charity Commission's report were not given any opportunity to comment on the report prior to its publication. It's our understanding that the Charity Commissions in England, Scotland and Wales do afford an opportunity for those here mentioned in the report or against whom adverse findings have been made, have an opportunity to comment before final publication. So our members content that we would write to the Charities Commission here to ask them what is their view on that, what is their policy on that, because certainly from our own direct experience, we thought it was very appropriate that, particularly if it was adverse findings against someone, you would advise them of that accordingly and give them at least the opportunity to respond. Members content of that. Also, in terms of the this corresponds there, I mean, the committee, we don't have any powers to intervene to have the report removed from its website, as Mr. Burke has requested. And obviously they're suggesting, or he's suggesting that they feel they've been unfairly to it. So on that basis, we can only really advise them to go to the Ombudsman's office. Members again content with that? Agreed. Okay, and the Minister, just for her own advice, has already responded to Mr. Burke on this issue as well. And furthermore, Mr. Burke has indicated in email sent to the committee that his personal data has been accessed by CCNI during the course of the investigation. Again, Kevin has been in discussion with him and basically suggesting that, well, really the recourse in this would be to go to the Information Commissioner's office, as we would have no remit to investigate such accusations. The members content to be advised, Mr. Burke, of that? Okay, thank you for that. Okay, members then content to agree the correspondence as per the memo. I agree, thank you for that. Forward work programme, just to members content to note the forward work programme. Okay, thank you for that. Under AOB, there's been a fair bit of correspondence ongoing. Do we have a copy of it here? I actually had advised the clerk just a few days ago that I've been receiving quite a bit of correspondence in relation to the powers of the Social Security Agency. There's an extensive body of correspondence, and it's around whether or not Social Security Agency in their work investigations are covered by PACE legislation, and the person involved in this correspondence has been basically suggesting he's been fobbed off for months. It's in the pack. Sorry, members, it's on page.
It's in part of the correspondence. It's 49.
Okay, it's on page 49. Okay, off the pack. All I was looking for was, because I think it's important issue, all right, that this is moving around the house between the Department, the agency, and the DOJ. Straightforward question: is the Social Security Agency governed by the or they operate on the process of PACE? I mean, the members content we just asked the department to answer that question.
Is the answer not on page 50? Where it says, one of those emails, that Article 66(8) of the PACE legislation requires that persons other than police officers who are charged with the duty of investigating offences or charging offenders must have regard to the relevant provisions of PACE codes. I believe that covers it, but no harm in having it.
DSD, or I think since it's a Social Security Agency issue and DSD issue onward, then I think it's just to ask the department just for to clarify it to the committee. Okay.
Is that what Jim just quoted there, which you see, is that the answer to, this is quite a lot of emails here, is that the answer to the question at the bottom of the same page?
Which page numbers?
Yes, I think so.
That's what it looks like to me, but
I think so. But the gentleman's not satisfied with that answer.
it would appear not.
But I think that probably is the answer.
Yeah, it likely is. Okay, so members content then we should go right. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so again, just then date and time, our next meeting is Thursday the 5th of February. And we're now then, the committee is going to move into closed session. Consider first of all the legal advice we've been seeking.
29. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly, Committee Room 29.